Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Welcome back to the History AI podcast. I'm your host, Chuck.
And I'm Marco. Thanks for joining us today. We've got an interesting episode lined up for you all about Harmar's defeat. Ever heard of it, Chuck?
Oh, definitely. It's one of those fascinating but often overlooked events in early American history. Before we dive in though, a quick reminder to our listeners, if you enjoy our show, please rate, subscribe, and share the podcast. Your 5-star reviews really help us reach more people and keep growing.
Absolutely, and don't forget you can suggest topics through our social media. We love hearing from you. Plus, we now have merchandise available. Check the link in the show notes for some cool History AI gear.
Alright, let's dive deeper into the background and lead up to Harmar's defeat. To set the stage, we need to understand the broader context of the Northwest Indian War. This conflict, also known as Little Turtle's War, took place in the late 18th century as the newly formed United States sought to expand its territory westward into the Northwest Territory. This area encompassed what we now know as Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and parts of Wisconsin.
The Northwest Territory was seen by American settlers as a land of opportunity, but it was already home to various Native American tribes, including the Shawnee, Maumee, Delaware, and Wyandot. These tribes had formed a confederation to resist the encroachment on their lands, and they were determined to defend their territory against American expansion.
Tensions had been escalating for years, with numerous skirmishes and confrontations between settlers and Native American tribes. The U.S. government, eager to secure the frontier for settlement and to assert its sovereignty, decided to take military action. Enter General Josiah Harmar, a seasoned officer from the Revolutionary War, who was tasked with leading an expedition to subdue the Native American resistance.
Harmar was appointed as the commander of the U.S. forces in the Northwest Territory in 1789. His mission was clear: to demonstrate American military power and to pacify the region by destroying Native American villages and crops, thus breaking the tribe's ability to sustain their resistance. Harmar's force, however, was a mix of regular troops and militia, which presented its own set of challenges.
That's right. Harmar's army comprised around 320 regular soldiers from the 1st American Regiment and approximately 1,100 militia from Pennsylvania and Kentucky. The militia, in particular, were not as well trained or disciplined as the regulars, which would later contribute to the problems faced during the campaign.
The campaign began in September 1790, with Harmar's forces marching northward from Fort Washington, near present-day Cincinnati. Their goal was to strike at the heart of the Native American Confederation's territory along the Maumee River. The plan was to destroy villages and food supplies to weaken the tribes before winter set in.
As the American forces advanced, they encountered resistance almost immediately. The Native American warriors, well aware of the approaching army, used hit-and-run tactics to harass the Americans and draw them deeper into the wilderness. Harmar's men burned several villages, but these actions did not go unchallenged. Now that we've set the stage with the background and lead up to Harmar's defeat, let's dive into the battle itself and how it unfolded in greater detail. The conflict spanned several days and involved multiple engagements, each showcasing the tactical prowess of the Native American Confederation and the challenges faced by Harmar's forces.
The first major engagement took place on October 19, 1790. Harmar's troops had marched into the territory near the confluence of the St. Joseph and St. Mary's rivers, in present-day Fort Wayne, Indiana. They began their campaign by burning several Native American villages, including the Maumee town of Kikionga. While this initial phase seemed to go according to plan, it quickly became apparent that the native forces were strategically retreating to draw the Americans into a trap.
Indeed. The Native American warriors, under the leadership of Little Turtle and Blue Jacket, were not merely fleeing but were regrouping and preparing for a counterattack. They knew the terrain intimately and used it to their advantage, employing guerrilla tactics that kept Harmar's forces on edge. This psychological warfare was crucial in setting the stage for the coming ambush.
On October 20th, Harmar sent out a smaller detachment to scout the area and gather intelligence on Native American movements. This detachment encountered sporadic skirmishes, which only further indicated that the Native Confederation was lurking nearby and preparing for a significant strike. Harmar, however, underestimated the size and coordination of the opposing force.
The critical moment came on October 22. Harmar decided to split his forces, a decision that proved to be disastrous. He sent Colonel John Hardin with approximately 180 regulars and 200 militia to pursue the retreating native forces. Hardin's orders were to locate the main native encampment and engage them, hoping to deliver a decisive blow.
As Hardin's detachment advanced, they moved deeper into the forest, where visibility was limited and the terrain was rugged. Little Turtle and Blue Jacket had anticipated this move and set an ambush in the dense woods near present-day Churubusco, Indiana. The native warriors were concealed in the thick underbrush, waiting for the opportune moment to strike.
When Hardin's men entered the ambush zone, the native warriors attacked with precision and overwhelming force. The surprise and ferocity of the assault threw the American troops into chaos. The militia, less disciplined and trained than the regulars, panicked and began to flee. The regulars tried to hold their ground but were quickly overwhelmed.
Hardin's forces suffered heavy casualties in this ambush. Estimates suggest that about 100 of his men were killed within minutes. Those who survived the initial onslaught retreated in disarray, leaving behind their dead and wounded. The survivors stumbled back to Harmar's main camp, bringing with them tales of the devastating defeat.
Hearing of Hardin's plight, Harmar decided to take action. He led the main body of his troops to support Hardin's beleaguered detachment. However, this move played right into the hands of the Native American leaders. Little Turtle and Blue Jacket orchestrated a second ambush, this time targeting Harmar's main force.
On October 23, as Harmar's troops marched to Hardin's aid, they too were ambushed near the Eel River. The Native American warriors, utilizing their intimate knowledge of the terrain, struck from concealed positions. The Americans, already demoralized by the earlier defeat, were again thrown into chaos.
Harmar's forces tried to form defensive positions, but the native warriors were relentless. They attacked from multiple directions, preventing the Americans from mounting a cohesive defense. The lack of coordination and discipline among the militia exacerbated the situation, leading to further heavy losses.
By the end of the day, Harmar realized the futility of continuing the campaign under such circumstances. His forces were exhausted, demoralized, and significantly reduced in number. He ordered a retreat back to Fort Washington, marking the end of the ill-fated expedition. The retreat itself was a grueling affair, with the Native American warriors continuing to harass the withdrawing troops.
The total casualties for Harmar's campaign were staggering. Estimates suggest that around 183 to 223 American soldiers were killed, with many more wounded or missing. In contrast, Native American casualties were relatively light, demonstrating their effective use of hit-and-run tactics.
Harmar's defeat was a resounding victory for the Native American Confederation and a stark reminder of the challenges faced by the United States in its quest for westward expansion. The battle highlighted the effectiveness of Native American military strategies and the vulnerabilities of the American forces.
The defeat had immediate and long-term repercussions. It exposed the weaknesses of the American military and the need for better trained and more professional soldiers. It also reinforced the resolve of the Native American tribes, who had shown that they could successfully defend their homelands against a formidable foe. Now, let's delve into the broader implications and the lessons learned from this significant battle in greater detail.
One of the most immediate implications of Harmar's defeat was the realization of the inadequacy of the United States military forces on the frontier. The defeat exposed several critical weaknesses, such as poor training, lack of discipline, and the inherent issues in relying heavily on militia forces. Unlike the regulars, the militia were often poorly trained, lacked cohesion, and were prone to panic under fire, which proved disastrous in the face of coordinated Native American attacks.
The battle underscored the need for a more professional and well-equipped standing army. This realization spurred significant military reforms, including the creation of the Legion of the United States in 1792. This reorganization, led by General Mad Anthony Wayne, aimed to address the deficiencies highlighted by Harmar's campaign. The Legion was structured to provide better training, discipline, and a more effective fighting force, capable of operating in the challenging terrain of the Northwest Territory.
Another critical lesson from Harmar's defeat was the importance of understanding and respecting the tactical prowess of the Native American warriors. The U.S. military's underestimation of their opponent's capabilities and their over-reliance on traditional European-style combat formations proved to be a fatal mistake. The Native American Confederation, led by astute leaders like Little Turtle and Blue Jacket, effectively utilized guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and their intimate knowledge of the terrain to their advantage.
The battle also highlighted the significance of leadership and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances on the battlefield. General Harmar's rigid adherence to conventional tactics and his failure to anticipate the flexible and mobile nature of the Native American forces contributed to the defeat. In contrast, Native American leaders demonstrated exceptional strategic and tactical acumen, adapting their plans to exploit the weaknesses of the American forces effectively.
Politically, Harmar's defeat had far-reaching consequences. It was a major embarrassment for the fledgling U.S. government, which had to face the reality that its frontier policies were failing. The defeat called into question the government's ability to protect settlers and assert control over the Northwest Territory. This, in turn, intensified the debate over the need for a stronger federal military presence and greater investment in frontier defense.
The defeat also had a profound impact on the Native American tribes involved. It bolstered their morale and demonstrated that they could successfully defend their homelands against American expansion. This victory strengthened the resolve of the Native American Confederation, encouraging further resistance and delaying American encroachment into their territories. The tribes saw Harmar's defeat as a validation of their strategies and leadership, further uniting them in their struggle against the United States.
However, the victory was bittersweet. Despite their success, the Native American tribes understood that this was only a temporary setback for the American forces. The U.S. government would undoubtedly regroup, learn from its mistakes, and return with a more formidable force. This awareness led to increased efforts to secure alliances and bolster their defenses in anticipation of future conflicts.
Harmar's defeat set the stage for subsequent military campaigns in the Northwest Indian War. The most notable of these was the campaign led by General Anthony Wayne, which culminated in the decisive Battle of Fallen Timbers in 1794. Wayne's victory, built on the lessons learned from Harmar's failures, led to the Treaty of Greenville in 1795, which opened much of present-day Ohio to American settlement and marked a significant turning point in the United States' westward expansion.
The defeat also contributed to a shift in American military strategy. The focus moved towards more comprehensive planning, better intelligence gathering, and a greater emphasis on training and discipline. The U.S. military began to adopt more flexible tactics, recognizing the need to adapt to the unique challenges posed by fighting in the diverse and rugged landscapes of North America.
Harmar's defeat was a pivotal event that exposed the vulnerabilities of the early American military and highlighted the strategic and tactical capabilities of the Native American tribes. It served as a catalyst for significant military reforms and had lasting political and social implications for both the United States and the Native American Confederation. Harmar's defeat remains a poignant example of the complexities and challenges of early American frontier warfare. It's a reminder of the resilience and tactical prowess of the Native American tribes who defended their homelands against significant odds.
Before we wrap up, we want to give a special thank you to all our listeners. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share the podcast. A 5-star review really helps us keep the podcast going.
And remember, you can always suggest topics through our social media channels. We'd love to hear what you're interested in. Also, check out our merchandise, the link is in the show notes. Every episode of the History AI podcast is evergreen, so you can go back and listen to any topic at any time.
That's right. Thanks again for joining us today. Until next time, I'm Marco.
And I'm Chuck. See you in the next episode of the History AI podcast. Discover the dark, enchanting world of shadowed journeys, the tales of Jordan and Squishy. Follow Jordan, a seemingly innocent girl with a hidden power, and her loyal companion Squishy, who reincarnates into different animals after each battle. Venture into the ominous depths of the Whispering Woods as they face fierce creatures and uncover ancient secrets. Will Jordan succumb to the darkness within, or will she find the strength to forge a new destiny? Perfect for fans of dark fantasy and epic quests, this spellbinding tale will captivate and leave you pondering the fine line between hero and villain. Dive into Shadowed Journeys today. Available on Amazon now.